Okay, we're going to talk about the syllabus for the summer session of Advanced Web Applications 365, 465. This class does have undergraduates and graduates in it. So be aware that we are serving two populations in it in the same class. That means when you see on homeworks explicitly on homeworks, look out for graduate students and undergraduate students. You'll see that in the descriptions of the homeworks. Um, be aware of that. We'll talk about that later. So my name is Michael E. Ruth, PhD in computer science. A couple things I want to talk about. You can call me Michael. You can call me Dr. Ruth. Please don't call me Mr. Ruth. Don't call me Mike, and so forth. Um, but you can call me Michael or you can call me Dr. Ruth. I appreciate it. Or Professor Ruth. I don't really care. Course meetings is asynchronous through Blackboard. We'll talk about that a lot in this upcoming presentation. In this presentation, or this set of public presentations, I should say. But is asynchronous. So you do it on your schedule and you have deadlines, you have weekly deadlines, weekly things are going to come up. Make sure you be cautious and be aware of all deadlines and all responsibilities, because you're going to get weekly announcements. You're going to get weekly overviews inside the weekly folders. And then you are going to be held to those. Not maybe, not partially, you're going to be held to those. We only have 5 weeks together, and as a result of 5 weeks together, we have 3 homeworks, 2 exams, and they are on a schedule. So it's very important that you follow the schedule and you know what's going to happen each week, each day, each time thing that's going on. So look out for that. This course is 3 credit hours. Office hours. Email me for time and location, but generally I'm only available via Zoom and only available via appointment. That's not to say I'm not available. That's just to say I'm only available by appointment. Now, what that actually means is I'm actually pretty available. But, huh, weird. I can't manipulate anything here. Okay. So Zoom updated, of course. And as a result of Zoom updating, we're getting all sorts of um, yeah, so I can no longer manipulate via the screen. I have to manipulate via the app, whatever. I was going to zoom in. Um, so that doesn't mean I'm not available. That just means you need to email me. Chances are I'm only a day away. Yes. 24 hours or so away most of the time. Some days I will be traveling. Some days we'll be moving around. Some days I might be kayaking on the river or the lake. So you might want to email me to make an appointment. However, having said that, please do. If you have any questions whatsoever, please do. It's very important that if you have a question that you ask it. You can email me your questions, but if you feel like you need to meet with me, don't hesitate to email me to set up an appointment. That's the easiest way to do it. My phone number is listed here, but that goes to a voicemail. Then the voicemail is forwarded to my email. So the quickest way to get in touch with me at any point is via email. I rarely will come into the office, but every now and again I might come into the office. Um, if so, and you really want to see me in person, and I happen to be around, I'll let you know if that happens. Because of the time frame of this class, it's fairly unlikely that that's going to happen, but you know, it is what it is. All right, so course description. This is an intermediate programming course emphasizing the development of real-world interactive web-based applications using open source web application frameworks and databases. We're not going to be doing databases, but we will cover full stack development. The focus in this class is going to be the front end. We're going to do a lot more with the front end than we ever did with the back end. Our front end is going to be the primary focus. Now, with the back end, instead of using a database, because this course does not have the heavy requirements of some of the programming courses, this course prerequisites only 150. So we don't have databases and those things, but we do have the ability to create lists and do things programmatically in the back end using in-memory data structures, usually lists, those type of things. So we'll be talking about those, as well as providing you with the background so you'll be able to use a backend system as well. Again, the focus is on the front end, but traditionally, historically, this course also teaches things like polymorphism and inheritance, using collections and exceptions and so forth as well. And so we'll be doing that throughout the course of the class as well. Well, actually, only in the back end portion, but we won't actually use databases. We'll be using those data structures as we discussed. The course prerequisites, if you're an undergraduate, it's only 150. University's overall learning goals are here. Effective communication, knowledge of discipline, focused content. That's our primary goal here. Awareness of social justice and engagement in civic life. That's pretty much in the background. However, effective communication is part of the course. When you have homework questions, homework exam questions, and those things, you will have to explain yourself clearly and to the point. We'll talk more about that when we do an exam overview. All right, so course objectives, we're going to demonstrate proficiency using intermediate programming concepts such as inheritance, polymorphism, collections, and exceptions, primarily focused on the development of websites. We're going to analyze web application development design and implementation using web tools and application issues to ensure good design and implementation of web applications. So we're going to be using a full stack web development. We're going to be using best practices throughout. So it's very important that you use the tools and the techniques that I do in class because I am focused on the best practices and so forth. We're going to demonstrate proficiency using Spring and Angular to develop web applications. Spring Boot is going to be our backend. It's a Java-based backend. Our primary development environment at Roosevelt is Java, and so we're going to use Java as our backend. Spring Boot's perfect for that. Angular is the JavaScript front end, and as a result of that being the front end, we're going to spend a lot of time in JavaScript and in Angular as well. We'll be doing some advanced things that we don't do in the other database-based course in this course, using mostly Angular to do that. We're going to analyze web application security concepts to facilitate mitigation of common threats. So the first thing we're going to look at is web application security. What do we mean by it? What are the common attacks? What are the common problems? And how do we mitigate those threats? And we'll talk about that in detail. There's no textbook for this course. There never has been a good textbook. I pull from a variety of sources. When I do use web resources, I will make sure you have links to them. When I provide those links, you should at least review it. Do you need to read it hardcore? Only if you really don't understand something, but you should actually skim it and look it over. Class participation and assignments. So you'll have 3 assignments. They're each going to be worth about 10% of your grade. Midterm exam and a final exam. I want to make it clear you have 3 assignments and they are going to be worth 10% of your grade each. It is very important that you do not copy, do not plagiarize, you do not repurpose, because if you do, you can end up failing the class based on that weight of the homeworks. Okay, each homework is going to be about 10% of your final grade. Very important not to get into issues with that. Okay, do your own work. Midterm and final are pretty heavily weighted because they are the easiest way to determine whether or not you're learning anything in the course. So the course will primarily focus on demonstrations. I'm going to show you most of what we're going to do in classes. I'm going to show you how to do this, how to do that, how to do this, why we're doing this, why we're doing that, and so forth. Demonstrations are useful because it's showing you a skill. So it's trying to help you develop a skill. It's very important that you don't try to type along with me, but instead that you spend time after the lecture when I do a demonstration, making sure that you can do it too, that you understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and so forth. Make sure you're following along. It's vitally important. There will be time when I lecture. Sometimes it's the easiest way to convey information, but most of the time I'll be doing demonstrations. Of course, we'll also have individual assignments that will involve learning as well. Make sure that you're doing those as well. The grading scale is a common grading scale from Roosevelt. It's used in every class. I don't even think I do anything special here. This is important weeks. It just should say the second 5-week summer session. It still says the first, but the dates are correct. So classes begin on 7/2, classes end on 8/5, grades are available on 8/11, and the last day to withdraw with the W grade is 7/22. We'll talk more about the last day to withdraw later on. Exams will be taken online through Blackboard. There are going to be instructions associated with each exam. The exam is going to be timed. The exam will submit once your time is up. For the final exam, you get 150 minutes. For the midterm exam, you get the class time, which is typically 75 minutes. But once your exam time is up, it will submit. You'll be given a multi-day window to take exams. So the midterm will it will be served at the beginning or be given at the beginning of week 3. So you can start taking it Tuesday at midnight, Wednesday, all of Wednesday, and Thursday up till 11:59 on that Wednesday. The final exam will be the end of week 5. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right? All of our weeks are going to begin on a Tuesday and end on a Monday. This avoids long and short weeks. All of your assignments are going to be due on a Monday night. Everything will be show up on a Tuesday morning at midnight. Whatnot. Again, don't forget that the course announcements are going to detail this more and more and more. Okay. You're responsible for all material covered and announcements regardless of delivery. If I send an email changing a deadline, changing a date, changing to this, changing to that, you're responsible for it. There'll be no makeup examinations. I do not give makeups. If you miss the midterm, your final exam counts for both. If you miss both the final exam and the midterm, you get a 0 on them. Done. Okay. No one's gotten a 0 on the course, but I do not do makeups. Once the solution is posted, the solution is posted. As it turns out, during the summer, we have a hard deadline for turning back grades. And as a result of having that hard deadline, you do not have a ton of time between the last day of class and the time in which I have to submit grades. In fact, you can see it above. Classes end on 8/5. And by the way, yes, that is a Monday. And grades are available at the end of that week. So I have to turn all that around, a homework and an exam. I have to turn that all around by the end of the week. I have 4 days. As a result of that, it's very unlikely that you're going to get an additional time to do it. So make sure that you're following deadlines and make sure you're doing the things you should be doing. Once those go graded and once they go online, it will not allow you to take the exam. Okay. Course website is blackboard.roosevelt.edu. Everything will be given through Blackboard. All assignments, all videos, all recordings, all lectures, all lecture slides, all notes, anything that you will get from me will come via Blackboard. If you get an email, I typically will put an announcement in the Blackboard session as well. But it's important that you follow and check Blackboard regularly, at least weekly, right? Because that's when it shows up. And by the way, we don't talk about this because I don't need to talk about this. Grades usually correspond on their own, so we don't need to be so concerned with this. But I can see what videos you're watching. I can see what you're doing inside the class. It behooves you to do your work. One thing I'm going to point out about Blackboard, there's a total score in Blackboard, completely meaningless. There is an attendance thing, I think, as well. Also completely meaningless. Their score is weighted. At the end of the semester, I will post a final grade average, and you'll be able to see that running average, final average, and you'll be able to know what your grade is as you move through the course. I usually don't do it until the second homework is done. If you send me a question using university email, I respond back to you within 24 hours. I am very, very good at that. No matter where I am, I will respond back in 24 hours. Sometimes I can't give a full response. I'll give a quick, hey, I'm somewhere. I will respond tomorrow. That's true, but I've never not actually fully responded by 24 hours. During the summer, things get a little weird because, I'm moving around, doing this, doing that. And as a result of that, I'm going to stop the recording because I don't know how long I'll be recording.